Or perhaps Bigfoot doesn't fit into their preconceived notions of the world.
For many years, tales of tall, ape-like creatures hiding in faraway forests have fascinated people and also scared them. Some call these strange beings Bigfoot, while others use the name Sasquatch. They are believed to wander near human settlements but only show themselves in quick flashes, or through the spooky signs they leave behind. Tonight, we will follow some campers who went into the wild for a peaceful time, only to find tracks that were too big, deep, and clear to overlook. From trails lit by the moon to the eerie sounds of the woods, these are the stories that turn simple camping trips into memorable experiences, making you wonder what really roams among the trees when darkness comes. Our first clip is a documentary about Sasquatch sightings and evidence around Mount Rainier in Washington. It presents 3 different locations where activity was reported and features interviews with people who have experienced the phenomena firsthand. The documentary also showcases audio recordings, physical evidence like footprints, and the use of technology like thermal imaging. The documentary showcases the unique and rugged wilderness of Mount Rainier.
The place I've ever gone to search for Sasquatch has its own attributes in its landscape. There are different things that I personally look for when I head to places. Things you want to look at: ridges, waterways, historical reports, current reports. You also want to keep in mind what time of year it is, where the food is, where the deer migration and elk migrations are. So if you're seeing a lot of elk prints in a certain area, it's a safer thing to say that there might be Sasquatches in the area.
Highlighting its active volcanic nature and the diverse flora and fauna that inhabit the area. This rugged and vast environment is presented as the perfect setting for the Sasquatch mystery. And the state of Washington is cited as having more Sasquatch reports than any other state in the country. During an exploration, the team finds a series of what appear to be bipedal footprints on the ground. The prints, which the narrator claims are bipedal and big, have the needles in the dirt pressed down, with what looks like a toe-ish action.
Just like the Go Road all over again.
Just about.
Look at that.
See, so this one. What's interesting about this is that the needles are pressed into the dirt.
Correct.
You can almost maybe see a toe-ish action here, but you got this. Like
Look, it looks almost like a step, and maybe.
They conclude that the prints are old and were probably from a creature that walked through there a while ago. But the discovery still excites the team, as it is a tangible piece of evidence. While walking in the woods, the team discovers a trail of bipedal footprints. The narrator notes that the prints are in a straight line, with big prints that have toes and a step. The excitement is palpable as they examine the details of the prints.
Look like a foot.
yeah.
So this one looks like a foot as well. We're gonna cast up to like here, just get the full, what looks like the depth. What I like about it, there's a stick here in the toes, and the toes kind of, go around it. I feel like if it was ungulate, it would have just stepped down and really mashed that stick down a lot deeper.
Including pressed down pine needles, which give them a sense of what they are looking for. The documentary also features audio recordings of alleged Sasquatch vocalizations. One of the clips, which was recorded by a man named Jonathan and his wife Sarah in 2013, is a loud guttural roar. Another clip is a series of sounds that are described as little girls singing, which a man named Tristan found to be a more chilling possibility than a Sasquatch. The most dramatic audio is from Tristan, who describes a chorus of roars.
If that wasn't a Sasquatch or a younger Sasquatch, whatever, and it actually was a little girl singing, to me that's creepier that there would be little girls singing at that time of night, outside, in the cold, under those conditions. That seems like more ghostly or paranormal. It's just, it's too strange.
Opera singing and high undulating whoops that went on for 30 minutes in the early morning. A recording of a roaring sound is played. The clip, which was originally recorded in April of 2013, has a man's voice in the background, saying, I think it's down there in the field, giving the impression that the sound is coming from a specific location.
And if I was to guess, I would say it was coming from 500-600 yards away. But it was, you'll hear the clip, and it was this roar. And in the background, you hear my brother Ben talking, saying something to the effect of, I think it's down there in the field. And he's talking about where right here is the feminine singing. And it's very similar to other, like, what is described as singing vocalizations that have been captured throughout the Cascades.
And that it's a real and present thing that the person is reacting to. The evidence presented throughout this segment, from the physical footprints in the soil to the unsettling audio recordings, tells a story of a mystery that exists in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. While the answers remain elusive, the sheer volume of sightings and the consistency of the evidence suggest a presence that is both ancient and cunning. The truth, it seems, is not just out there, but hidden in the shadows of Mount Rainier's rugged and unforgiving terrain, waiting to be found. The forest air was thick and heavy, a humid blanket that muffled all sound. A single lantern cut a narrow path through the oppressive darkness, its light dancing across gnarled tree trunks and dense undergrowth. The team, a small band of hunters, moved with a quiet purpose, their boots crunching softly on the forest floor. They were tracking something large that had left a trail of broken branches and trampled earth. A shiver ran through one of the men. He felt an unnerving stillness, a sense of being watched from the surrounding shadows. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end as he heard a faint rustling in the distance, a sound that was too heavy to be an animal, but too subtle to be human.
Jeff spots something that looks like a tree structure.
Hey, Huck. Bill.
Yo,
Come over here. Jeffro found something.
We need to check this out.
I don't know what to make of this.
What the? Hey, look at that.
Look how far it goes up in there, guys.
Man. What make structures like that?
Well, we know Bigfoot makes tree structures,
Hell
something
yeah.
like this, but this right here just
This one's odd. About any tree structure we've found has supported itself, hasn't it?
Yeah.
A shot of a tree, its base thick with twisting vines and broken branches. As the camera pans up, it focuses on a strange, unnatural structure of interwoven limbs, unlike anything found in nature. The camera holds on this for a moment before a quick cut to a blurry, indistinct shape darting between the trees in the background. The team continued its tense search, finding a peculiar tree formation that was far too deliberate to be a natural occurrence. The structure was a silent, unsettling testament to a presence in the woods. Their nerves frayed further as they stumbled upon a horrific scene. A large patch of grass flattened as if by a steamroller, and a trail of fresh blood splattered across the dirt path. It was the undeniable sign of a predator, a powerful and vicious creature that had recently made a...
Man. Can you see him in there? Yeah. Looks like he's laying down. I'm telling you, this Bigfoot is hurt. Her head's hurt. Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Damn, it's up in there.
Listen. God. Son of a bitch. Listen to that bastard roar. All of a sudden we hear a son of a bitch and roar. That son of a bitch is vibrating me in my boot.
The camera, now handheld and shaky, follows the blood trail. It leads to a large, empty cow pen. The camera pans across the frightened, huddled cattle, their eyes wide with terror. A sudden, violent jolt of the camera happens as the audio cuts to a brief, loud, and guttural roar that seems to shake the ground. As rain began to fall, the search became more desperate. The hunters were now racing against the clock, trying to follow the trail before the rain washed it away. They heard a frantic cry from one of their own, followed by the terrifying sound of gunshots. Rushing to the location, they found their teammate Willie in a state of catatonic terror. He was drenched in sweat, his eyes wide and vacant, his body trembling uncontrollably. He was pointing, his finger a rigid, accusing line toward the dense woods. He couldn't speak, but his abject fear was more communicative than words.
He's jacked up. He pissed his pants. Not good, not good.
Willie's pants are all wet. He pissed himself.
Damn, he's clear the hell out of it, Buck.
That happens when someone gets so scared that they lose control.
Take a breath, take a breath. Guys, his heart is racing.
I'm telling you, for this to happen to Willie, he must have seen something that I can't even imagine.
Hey, guys, his pupils aren't even dying.
The camera is low to the ground, showing the team member's trembling hand pointing into the darkness. The focus shifts to the far-off trees where a pair of glowing red eyes is visible, peering out from the blackness. The eyes stare for a moment, then blink out of existence. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by the rhythmic patter of the rain and Willie's ragged breathing. They had found him, but whatever he had encountered was still out there, hiding in the shadows, waiting. The hunt was no longer about finding a creature, it was about survival. The video shows us a dad and his son Evan going on their first camping trip together. As they get ready, they set out their survival kit, which has walkie-talkies to talk to each other, lights for when it gets dark, and a camera to catch any movement in the woods. The most unusual thing they brought is a cowbell tied to a rope. They plan to use it as a warning system around their campsite. Even with all these safety measures, the dad claims that Bigfoot isn't real, which is something he's about to be proved wrong on.
Actually, this is our first time to go camping together, huh, Evan? Well, let's look and see if we have everything, okay? So we have our radios in case we need to talk to each other and we get separated or lost. And then we have some lights for when it gets dark and we hear noises out in the woods, we can shine it on the noises.
And bum, 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 bum.
Oh, yeah.
Most important.
Yeah, we're gonna cook marshmallows and weenies with those, huh?
As they unpack their things, the father and son show off their alarm system, a cowbell that will be tied to a rope around the edge of their campsite. If anything touches this rope, the bell will ring to wake them up. The dad speaks very calmly about this makeshift alarm, setting a strange mood for their camping adventure. When night comes, the calmness of the campsite turns into an eerie feeling of being watched. The distant howls of coyotes are soon joined by other creepier sounds. Dad and Evan hear something moving through the trees, which makes them both nervous. The strange noises get louder, and something starts hitting their tent with sticks. At first, the dad thinks it might be a cow, but then he realizes that cows don't hit tents with sticks.
No, of course I wasn't.
How do you know?
Because it was hitting the tent with sticks.
Wait, quiet. What if it's still out there?
Then we're done for.
Okay, be very quiet. Okay, hey, let's just go to sleep, okay? We'll check it out in the morning, all right? We're pretty safe inside our tent.
We're not safe.
Yes, we are.
It could bust through that door.
Inside the tent, they listen to something hitting the tent with sticks, making an unsettling sound that feels really close. The dad's voice goes from calm to a quiet, worried whisper, as he tries to comfort Evan by saying they are safe in the tent, even though he knows they might not be. The next morning, what frightened them the night before isn't just a noise, but something they can actually see. The tent door is torn open, and their camping chairs that were left on the ground are now found up in the trees. Even weirder, there are logs standing up in an odd way. This scene clearly shows that a creature has claimed the area, which makes the dad realize that what he thought was just a story is actually a real danger.
Hey, let's go outside. What happened out here?
What happened to the chairs?
Where are the chairs? Hey,
They're in the trees.
why are these logs standing up? What is this? Evan, here's our light.
What?
How did they end up over here? Evan, hey, where's our chairs?
They're in the trees.
What?
The father and son come out of their tent to find a messy campsite. The tent door is damaged, and the chairs have been put in the nearby trees. They see a log standing in an unusual position, and their red chair is far from where they left it. All the signs of their wrecked camp show that something was there, sending a strong message to them. Our next clip documents a solo hike in the wilderness. The hiker uses various camera filters to capture the scenery and records their thoughts and observations along the way, including animal scat and the challenges of filming with trekking poles. While walking, the hiker smells animal, and a moment later hears a distinct cracking sound in the woods. The sound is sharp and could be interpreted as a twig breaking under a heavy weight, which immediately puts the hiker on alert. The hiker has an unsettling experience while walking through a clearing. They see a pure shadow running through the bushes. They initially rationalize the sighting as possibly a black bear or a homeless person, but the way the figure moved, trying to be sneaky, suggests something more unusual. The sighting leaves them feeling uneasy and questioning whether they captured anything on video.
It was almost like it was a pure shadow that I was watching. It could have been a black bear. This is a wild place, but it was trying to be stealthy walking through the woods.
The hiker sees a shadowy figure running through the bushes, which they describe as a pure shadow that was trying to be stealthy. The sighting occurs in a wild, remote area, and the hiker immediately begins to question what they saw, even speculating that it could be a black bear. Later in the hike, the narrator is enjoying the peaceful surroundings next to a running stream. They mention that any time they are next to running water, they hear voices. While it's a recurring experience for them, it's a chilling detail that adds to the mysterious atmosphere of the hike. The video concludes with the hiker enjoying a cup of instant coffee and reflecting on the solitude of the wilderness.
It's like I hear people talking.
Those voices again. Got a table, but I'm not going to set that up.
The hiker mentions that when they are next to running water, they hear voices, a phenomenon that happens to them often. This detail adds a layer of mystery and the possibility of a paranormal or unsettling presence to the whole environment. The old cabin looked really inviting after driving for a long time down a rough, empty road. Its single light shone brightly like a signal in the wide and harsh wilderness. The group of friends, who were out to investigate strange happenings, carefully walked towards the dark cabin. There was a heavy feeling of worry in the air, and everything was really quiet, making it even more eerie. Inside, they found the cabin to be empty. The biologist who had invited them was missing, but his work was all over a table: maps of the area, blurry pictures, and mysterious notes about local stories and legends. They felt a growing sense of unease as they recognized they were following his path into a mystery he had tried to face on his own.
Did you guys open that?
Open what?
What? The door's open.
Oh. What the heck?
Are you sure? We didn't touch that, did we?
I didn't mean...
Who went in this room? Did somebody... I went in there, but I didn't go out that way. I didn't even notice there was a door there.
Wait.
Now.
The camera slowly scans across the empty living room of the cabin. It focuses on the open door that goes to a back room, a door no one remembers opening. The shot stays for a moment on the dark room behind, then quickly switches to a wide view outside the cabin, where a small, shadowy figure seems to move between the trees near the light. The group was studying the maps when a loud noise broke the silence. It was a deep, primal roar coming from the woods, a sound they had never heard before. It wasn't a bear or a wolf. It was a scary, unnatural scream that felt like it shook the whole cabin. The friends started to argue nervously. Some were really scared, while others didn't believe it. But the sound felt too real and too frightening to dismiss. It was like a clear warning from the forest, a challenge to their being there. The idea of being watched felt more like a certainty than just a thought.
What's that? That was like really...
No signs of base camp anywhere. We'll be waiting until sunset until we pack things up. Come here, please.
The camera shows a close-up of a team member's face, his expression a mix of confusion and alarm as a strange, fragmented voice crackles over his walkie-talkie. The sound is disjointed and difficult to understand, but the camera captures his growing unease as he realizes the voice isn't coming from his team. The radio's mysterious message added a new layer of dread to their journey. They decided to return to the relative safety of their cabin, but the forest seemed to have other plans. The feeling of being watched was constant, and the occasional rustle in the trees sent their hearts pounding. They knew they were being followed. After what felt like an eternity, they stumbled upon a shocking sight: a destroyed base camp, its wreckage scattered across the forest floor. A ripped tent, overturned gear, and a prominent dark stain on the ground spoke of a violent confrontation. This wasn't a game. The creature was real, and it was deadly.
Wait. Oh no. What is that? Orchid? It says orchid.
Orchid?
There's no way.
Why would it
What?
escape from...
Wait, how are they here? Wait. There's something about orchid in here. One sec.
Wait, what?
What? There's something
Orchid,
about
orchid.
orchid. Listen.
The camera pans across to the team as they discuss the torn tent and the disaster of a campsite that is left. It was splattered with blood, and a briefcase was found lying open on the ground, revealing its contents. A map and a strange sealed container. A sense of desperation and fear hangs over the scene, punctuated by the team's hushed, frantic movements. David Ellis, a retired lighting industry professional who has dedicated his life to what he calls the Bigfoot conquest. David's interest was first piqued by his grandfather, who in the late 1940s claimed to have seen a 5-foot-tall monkey on his farm. This story was a seed planted in David's mind, a seed that would blossom into a full-blown obsession years later during a terrifying childhood experience. In 1963, a young David and his friends were playing in a field when they noticed a herd of cows huddled together in a far corner, a sight that struck them as strange. As they continued their games, one of the boys struck a branch with a stick, and the tranquil atmosphere was shattered. The fear escalated until it was all punctuated by a blood-curdling scream that seemed to hit them with physical force.
Off of the tree, maybe 2-inch size limbs, and about 12 feet up in the air, and I couldn't fathom what I was seeing.
The kids watched as 2-inch thick branches were violently snapped from a tree, followed by the terrifying sight of the trees violently shaking. The chaos culminated in an immense, guttural scream that seemed to knock the children to the ground, overpowering all other sound. Years later, a different man, Chris Spencer, found himself in a similar state of terror. After being convinced of the creature's existence by a college professor, he decided to go on a camping trip with his young son. What started as an exciting adventure in the woods turned into a sleepless night of dread. The discovery of large footprints and a twisted tree limb during the day was unsettling, but the real fear came after dark. Just as he was finally drifting off to sleep, the movement drew closer. Something unseen and powerful reached out and began to pull on the tarp covering their tent.
It was just ever so often some movement. And just as I was about to fall asleep again, something grabbed the tarp from one of the tarps and started pulling on it. And those tarps were moving back and forth. And I just sat up and...
A large dark shape appeared against the fabric of the tarp, and the material began to shake violently. The tent rattled, and the ropes creaked as something grabbed the tarp and began to pull on it, its unseen force threatening to rip it away. The panic of the moment led to Chris hitting his car's alarm, an action that briefly silenced the encroaching presence. But the terror didn't end there. After the alarm stopped, a heavy silence settled over the camp, broken only by the sound of their own ragged breathing. They waited, frozen, for what seemed like an eternity. Just as Chris began to question if his fear was getting the best of him, a new sound, more deliberate and powerful than anything before, shattered the night. It was a pair of distinct knocks, a rock hitting a tree coming from just behind their tent.
I couldn't do it. I was just that, I totally freaked myself out. Well, it was around 4 a.m. There was 2 knocks.
It was a final, terrifying warning that they had overstayed their welcome. 2 powerful, rhythmic knocks echoed from right behind the tent, shaking the flimsy structure. The sound was sharp and clear, like a rock hitting a tree, and it was close enough to send a cold wave of terror through the camp. The video kicks off with Chris and Angelo exploring the chilly Canadian wilderness, which is only 5 minutes away from where someone spotted Bigfoot before. Just last week, people living nearby said they saw something on this lake. Armed with advanced night vision binoculars from a company named Sigmund, the team feels hopeful about making an important discovery. The host is confident, stating that they will be the ones to finally prove Bigfoot exists.
Definitely not Bigfoot. Angela was just saying, to call out Bigfoot, you gotta hit a tree with a stick 3 times. Dude, when we were camping here in the opposite side 2 weeks ago, we heard something hitting a tree 3 times.
3 times. That was Bigfoot.
As they stroll along a path, Angelo suggests that getting Bigfoot's attention means hitting a tree 3 times with a stick. The host remembers that they heard the same noise during another camping trip, hinting that they might have accidentally called the creature before. As night falls and the air becomes chilly, the 3 friends start to sense something strange around them. They hear a loud growl coming from the lake area. The sound is so intense that it stops them in their tracks. Even though it's cold and they're feeling scared, they decide to carefully check out where the noise is coming from.
Oh, shh. I heard something growling.
I thought I heard something too, actually. I still hear it.
In the dark, the host's microphone records the deep growling noises coming from the lake. The friends freeze and listen closely as the growling continues. The noise is creepy and definitely doesn't sound like any usual animal. The group chooses to return to their camp to recharge their equipment, but they can't shake the feeling that someone is watching them. They hear loud, strange sounds coming from the trees. It seems like something huge is throwing things, maybe even trees, down the hill toward them. Everyone agrees they feel a presence, and this last, scary noise clearly tells them to leave. The trio quickly picks up their pace, feeling both urgent and terrified.
I thought it was on top of me, bro. I heard the loudest noise in there.
Was something thrown, or it was like...
Yeah. Like something thrown, maybe like a tree fell over or something. Told you guys, that feeling we had that something was there, something was 100% there.
On their way back to their campsite, they hear a loud, heavy crash from the trees. The group immediately panics, thinking something gigantic has been hurled at them. The host explains that it felt like a force just told them to get out of here. The noise is so powerful and frightening that it terrifies the whole group. The video shows the host and his buddy, Chris, as they go on a winter camping trip without any conveniences in a faraway area of the Canadian wilderness. They park their RV close to a huge, icy lake, where many people have claimed to see Bigfoot. The host feels positive about finding proof of Bigfoot, so they start their trip by using a drone to look around. As the day goes on, the quietness of the woods is disturbed by some strange and creepy sounds.
That was like something growling at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like something growled at us coming from over there.
While they sit by their campsite, the host and Chris suddenly hear a strange and scary noise coming from the bushes nearby. They describe it as a deep growl that seems to bounce around, making them think something big is nearby, maybe a moose or even Bigfoot. The noise is so creepy that they pause everything to listen closely. Later, when both of them walk onto the frozen lake, they stumble upon something surprising. In a part of the ice where the top layer had turned slushy and then frozen again, they see a series of big marks. The prints are large and uneven, and the host quickly realizes they look like real Bigfoot footprints, similar to ones he believes he has seen in the past. This find proves that something huge has walked across the lake they are currently standing on.
That scared the shit out of me.
You heard that, right? Could that have been the ice?
That could have been the ice.
But it sounded like it came from here and then over there at the same time.
The host and Chris discover a line of big footprints in the slushy, frozen part of the lake. They take a close look at the footprints, amazed by how large they are and noticing what appears to be toes. The host is clearly excited because this is the first solid evidence they have uncovered during their journey. As day turns into night, the two guys decide to walk across the entire frozen lake to get back to their RV. While they are crossing the wide, snowy ice, Chris suddenly halts and says he spots something. He insists he saw a pair of eyes looking at them from the center of the lake, which seems impossible given how dark it is and the great distance. Despite feeling scared and the weirdness of what he saw, the host suggests they should walk toward that spot to check it out.
I've never seen two eyes. Two eyes? 2 eyes. Where in the middle? Like in that area there?
Like directly, what the?
While they are moving across the ice, Chris suddenly claims that he sees 2 eyes in the middle of the lake. This sighting is especially spine-chilling because there are no lights on, and the only light comes from the moon. The host's uneasy reaction and their choice to carefully approach the area highlight the spooky feeling of being observed. You ever get that feeling like you're being watched? Not in the city, not in a crowd, but somewhere quiet, isolated, where every sound echoes and the silence feels thick. That's what one man felt deep in the forests of North America. He wasn't out there for anything special, no research, no hunting, just a breath of fresh air, far away from the static of city life. The trees were tall, the forest floor soft with moss. Birds chirped, sunlight filtered gently through the pine branches. Everything felt normal, until it didn't. The man had stopped for a sip of water when something shifted at the edge of his vision. He turned slowly, and that's when he saw it. A figure, large, dark, upright.
It's crazy.
It moved between the trees like it belonged there, not crawling, not hunched, but walking, with long, heavy steps. Its shoulders were massive, arms dangling unnaturally low, swaying slightly as it moved. It was tall, thick, covered head to toe in coarse black hair. But what struck him most wasn't the size, it was the way it moved. There was no panic, no fear. It walked calmly, confidently, like it knew this place, like it owned it, and maybe like it knew it was being watched. The hiker barely breathed. He raised his phone, hit record. You can see it in the clip. The creature doesn't turn, doesn't speed up. It just keeps walking, straight through dense underbrush, like none of it matters. Almost as if it's leading him or warning him. The man whispered to himself, "This isn't right. I'm not supposed to see this." And maybe he wasn't. For years, legends have whispered about creatures in these woods. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, forest giants. But they always vanish before we get proof. Every photo is blurry. Every video is shaky. Every witness is left with more questions than answers. But what if it's not just one? What if they're out there, many of them, watching us from the shadows, walking the same trails, hearing every twig we step on, smelling us long before we know they're there? Every year, hikers disappear. Campers vanish. Some are found. Most aren't. And the forest never says a word. So next time you're alone in the woods and the wind dies, the birds go quiet, and your gut tells you to turn back. Maybe listen, because whatever's watching you might not be human. It was a quiet ride through the deep woods of Massachusetts. The kind of solo escape most mountain bikers dream about. No crowds, no traffic, just the sound of tires crunching over dirt and the wind moving through trees older than any town nearby. It was 2015, and this rider, armed with a GoPro, was ready to capture his day in the wild. The forest was thick, branches hung low. Sunlight barely pierced through the dense green above. It was peaceful, untouched, the kind of place that hides more than it reveals. Then, it happened. The rider slowed down. He'd seen something. Just off the trail, between the trees, movement, small, quick, but not in a way he could explain. It wasn't a deer, it wasn't a rabbit, it wasn't anything he'd seen on these trails before. It moved differently. He pulled over. The GoPro picked up the tension in his breath, the way the camera began to shake slightly in his hands. His voice dropped to a whisper. And then, a flash. A figure darted between the trunks, covered in hair, low to the ground, upright. It didn't crawl. It didn't hop. It ran, on two legs, like a child running through the woods, but wild. He panned the camera, tried to zoom in, but the thing had already vanished into the undergrowth, moving like it knew the land, knew how to hide, how to disappear before anyone got a clear look. Some might laugh and say it was a baby bear, but when you watch the clip, when you pause it, frame by frame, you see something else. The posture, the proportion, the strange grace in its movement, something that doesn't add up. And that's what unsettled him the most, because if it was a baby, where was the mother? For a moment he just stood there. The trail he'd loved for years now felt strange, unfamiliar, like the woods weren't just trees and moss anymore, but something alive, watching, deciding. Massachusetts has always carried its share of wilderness legends, but this was real, caught on camera, brief as it was. So the next time you're alone on a forest trail, breathing in the silence, surrounded by nothing but woods, keep your eyes open. Because if that was a young Sasquatch, then something much bigger is out there too. And it's probably not far behind. British Columbia, the Tantalus Range, remote, jagged, icy. It was July 2nd, 2020, a clear summer day in the high Alpine. Wildlife biologist Miles Lamont was hiking near Squamish, Canada, when he noticed something unusual.
We're on top of Tricuni Peak, and pretty sure there's just Sasquatch down there.
Oh my god.
I can't really see it very well. There's this little black dot walking in the middle of the snow, in the middle of nowhere.
High above the valley floor, near 7,000 feet elevation, a tiny black figure moved across a snowy ridge. From that distance, it looked like a speck. But it wasn't still. It was climbing. Fast, upright, deliberate. Lamont caught it on film, puzzled. "If that's a human," he said.
Why would he walk up that way? If that was a human, why would you walk up that ridge? Or that snow line? Why would you not just go straight down?
Why would they be walking up that ridge? No one hikes uphill into the cold unless they have a reason. And certainly not without gear. No backpacks, no snowshoes, no visible equipment. Just a lone, dark figure moving across deep snow as if the terrain didn't matter. Lamont, an experienced outdoorsman and wildlife biologist, had seen plenty of backcountry travelers.
Good thing we brought beers. We could lure him over here. Dude, that's bizarre.
This wasn't like any of them. His voice in the footage carries a strange mix of curiosity and tension. He even jokes, maybe if we had a few beers we could lure him over. But he's unsettled. This was not quite like any of those, he later said. It was a bit different. The video stirred up waves online. Debates erupted. Was it a person? Or something else?
We're in the middle of nowhere right now. I don't know how high we are, but we're probably close to 7,000 feet. 6,500 maybe.
That's when a man named Peter Tennant, or Ridgewalker Pete, stepped forward. He claimed the figure was him. A solo hiker from White Rock, BC, Pete said he had been in the area that same summer. No pack, no snowshoes, just an emergency locator. He was exploring. Simple, harmless. But then, the timeline unraveled.
But I mean, he's hiking through snow like it's his job. And where the hell is he going? I mean, there's nowhere to go that way.
Pete claimed he was on Tricuni Mountain during the last week of July. Lamont's footage, dated July 2nd, 3 weeks apart, different locations, same range, but not the same day. So if it wasn't Pete, who or what was it? A figure, alone, high in the snow, without gear, moving quickly where few dare to tread. In the deep wilderness of British Columbia, far from roads and watchers, maybe legends walk the ridgelines after all. And sometimes, we catch them on camera.
I don't...
The Finding Bigfoot team had an interesting question. Which ancient wilderness held more Sasquatch activity, Washington's Olympic Peninsula or British Columbia? Bobo and Rane, forming the U.S. team, dived into the Olympic Peninsula, a region famous for the very legends they were looking for, even giving rise to the name Sasquatch itself. As seasoned researchers, they moved with regard through these tribal lands.
Can't even see my hand in front of my face. Out here on the Olympic Peninsula, there is a rich history of reports, and there's no other place where I've spent more time in the woods than right here. So it would be very fitting if this is the place where I find a Bigfoot tonight. Plus, we have Monkey on our team. This wager is in the bag.
This intense darkness multiplied every sound, every distant rustle, sharpening their senses and preparing them for the unknown. Their initial search involved looking for animal tracks, quickly finding bear scat, a small reassurance of ordinary life. But as night fell, a different reality set in. The darkness on the Olympic Peninsula was not to be messed with, a thick, tangible blackness that Ranai described as the most absolute she had ever experienced, making it impossible to see her hand in front of her face. Despite the creepy quiet, Bobo felt a strong vibe that this was the night. Then, the forest whispered its first terrifying secret. Ranai heard a subtle movement in the brush, followed by a clear, sharp wood knock.
Well, I mean, it says I heard something further back make a noise.
Yeah, bigger, right?
Like a vocal kind of noise. Like, there's something in there. Right there. Listen.
Bobo, do you hear that?
It was an unmistakable sound, a slow, calculated way of communication. Both instantly snapped to high alert, the playful quiet replaced by a tense expectation. They decided to respond with their own knocks and calls, pushing deeper, excited to explore the possibilities. Just as their intense efforts continued, the night's creepy silence was shattered by something far more unsettling than a Sasquatch. A loud generator roared to life directly below them, followed almost immediately by a powerful hunting spotlight that swept through the trees, eventually locking onto their exact position.
I'm thinking my throat's kind of throat. Should I do a duet whoop?
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Echo.
Let's do one more.
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Those are lice. Is that?
he's gonna come up here. He's right there.
Bobo's mind directly went to the idea of hearing gunshots. The very real threat of human danger replaced the thrill of the hunt. Recognizing the situation, they made the sensible decision of going back, their Bigfoot search overpowered by the urgent need for safety. Their night on the Olympic Peninsula, though not very fruitful in a direct Sasquatch sighting, left them with a chilling and unforgettable encounter that proved the wilderness held its own terrifying, unexpected dangers. The latest adventure from Sasquatch Theory took viewers directly into the heart of the mystery, starting with compelling footage captured from a gifting basket. Something furry and clearly wary of the camera reached in, taking off with bread, apples, and cookies, while oddly leaving the bananas untouched, which gives us a bit of understanding of the creature.
But the idea is, when he comes up here, he's gonna look into the gift basket, and hopefully the camera will capture something. I really doubt it, but it's worth a shot, just because we can't sit back and not do anything and say, well, they're going to know what we're going to do. Because if that was the case, people wouldn't have eye sightings, people wouldn't catch these things screwing up.
This footage set the stage for the host's deeply personal journey, camping alone in the very area where he'd had past Bigfoot encounters. This wasn't for entertainment, but a years-in-the-making mental challenge, driven by a desire to truly understand these curious beings and share his raw experiences. His mission was to provide a rare, raw look into their world, observing how Sasquatch operated near human activity and moving beyond speculation to seek direct answers. He had been gifting in the area for weeks.
All right, so I got the night vision on, and this is what it looks like without the IR flashlight. I don't want to aim it towards the fire because you don't want to aim an IR device into a bright light. There's my camp. Oh, there's a whippoorwill going off. Very cool.
Leaving offerings, and had noticed a surge in activity, including strange tree structures with triangles, arches, and woven saplings, which he understood as actual signs of their presence and even a form of communication. Setting up his hammock and tarp at the edge of the woodline, he explained why he chose this spot. Rather than diving into the deepest wilderness, he camped closer to civilization, believing these smart creatures, much like deer, would circle and observe before revealing themselves.
They'll let me know it, but at the same time, how do you know if something's a threat or if it's just them being Sasquatch? We don't. We just kind of take the risk.
As darkness fully encompassed the area, the sounds of the forest intensified with the chirping of crickets, the calls of distant coyotes and owls. Yet, an unexpected tension lay in these familiar sounds. This was a known Sasquatch area for him, a place where he'd personally seen them before, and being here alone at night for the first time since those encounters was a very huge step.
I'm not gonna lie, all the sounds of the forest is pretty intimidating, but I'm close to home, so I'm not that worried about it. But this is a Sasquatch area, and I know that for sure because I'd seen them like I told you guys, but it's nerving being in here, being in an area where you know you've seen Sasquatch.
He acknowledged the great risks, but spoke very peacefully, trusting that if they truly didn't want him there, they would certainly make their displeasure known. He relied on the subtle signs he'd learned to recognize: faint sounds of stick breaks, sounds that seemed like small birds or squirrels, but but with no visible animal, indicating a cautious, intelligent creature merging smartly into the wild. As the night went on, activity around his campsite became more clear. He started hearing a subtle movement and distinct stick breaks, not just near his camp, but especially around the tree structures he had identified along the trail and around the gifting site.
Over where I showed you guys the structure, right down the trail, I'm hearing more stick breaks. And straight out in front of me, past the gifting site and the other structures, I'm hearing some stick breaks and movement. But I can't figure out what it is for sure.
He noted the local blue jays fussing, a common wilderness sign that animals were on the move, and suspected they were indirectly alerting the Sasquatch to his exact position. Earlier, he had even seen a black, upright shadow move through a nearby power line strip, followed by deer and coyotes, leaving him with a disturbing sense of being observed, perhaps even surrounded. Despite the creepy atmosphere and the weird feeling of being watched, he remained strong in his commitment, hoping his new gear would finally capture the definitive evidence he looked for. His determination to his goal was to document the reality of Bigfoot, even if it required to have deeply unsettling experiences alone in the dark. CJ Faison, joined by psychic medium Amber and Chris, went on to Purgatory Road in Delaware, a place known for both paranormal activity and, surprisingly, Bigfoot sightings. CJ, a self-proclaimed Bigfoot skeptic, was about to have his knowledge of Bigfoot challenged due to the incidents that were to follow. The night began with an immediate sense of strangeness. As Amber, the psychic, offered her initial readings of the road's energy, a strange, almost on-cue sound, like a fire alarm, started and abruptly stopped.
Hey, is there somebody out there?
God, somebody comes running out of the woods right now.
Yep, I'm out.
Never seen my face on that fast. Can't see that.
So, to answer your question, yes, I have been in the woods, but not like deep in those woods.
Is it like a state park thing, or what is it?
Yeah, it's owned by the state, yeah.
It was a creepy start to the strangeness that would unfold. CJ also pointed out different tree formations, bent and curved in ways that were just not possible, hinting at something large and powerful being responsible for this. As they went deeper into the woods, the atmosphere grew heavier. Amber warned about a feeling of being dragged deeper, a sense of being lost. Then, the night took another strange turn. A fire truck, sirens blaring, suddenly appeared on the gloomy road, its crew asking if anyone had called 911.
Call 911.
They can't find who called 911.
He just said you didn't call 911, did you?
There's not houses like
anywhere near here.
No.
Dude, what?
What?
How did you come out here though? It's a crazy night, right?
That is insane.
I'm speechless right now. I don't know what to think.
So they got a call. Did they ping it this way? We should have asked them.
I know.
Why else would they have been out here?
Kind of like in a
They're
hurry.
like looking for who called.
This was shocking, as there were no houses in the area, and the timing felt very weirdly coincidental, especially because of the full moon that night. The incident left them deeply shocked, questioning the reality of what in the world was going on. The most shocking event of the night was when they were making their way back. A large, dark, upright shadow figure, too big to be human, was seen moving urgently through the woods.
Okay. It's like really soft ground. I don't know if I'm walking in like a marsh area, and I don't know where.
CJ, despite his doubts, was left stunned, admitting it was either the darkest and largest shadow figure he'd ever seen, or indeed the myth, the legend, Bigfoot itself. The encounter was so intense that it drained his camera battery almost instantly, adding another layer of unexplainable shock. Throughout the night, they also encountered a weird, unidentifiable burnt smell, heard creepy whistles, and witnessed more of the strangely bent trees, reinforcing the idea that something extraordinary, possibly Bigfoot, was watching them from the shadows of this haunted forest. Deep in the forest, something massive moved. Not an animal, not a person. A shape, on the thermal lens, too large, too upright, too deliberate. Dr. Mireya Mayer locked eyes on it first, just a shadow at the start. But then it stood up, tall, solid, and watching. She wasn't alone, and neither was the team. The footage from Expedition Bigfoot on the Travel Channel captured it all. See for yourself. Watch this part right here.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yep. Minnie, that thing is back. Oh my God. Ronnie, it's standing up. Ronnie, can you hear me? Ronnie, can you hear me? Ronnie!
Maria.
There's something moving over there.
That heat signature? That's no ordinary wildlife. They tracked the heat, but what they didn't expect was how many there were. 4 enormous signatures moved just beyond the tree line. They weren't fleeing, they were circling, pacing, heads poking from behind trees, almost like they knew they were being watched. Suddenly, the signatures began to vanish, fading, shrinking, dissolving into white orbs of light. One by one, the forms shifted until they were just small, glowing spheres, as if the creatures weren't walking away, but transforming. Watch this clip closely, right here.
Don't see it with my flashlight. But this heat signature is so big that it's coming through a huge shrub.
How big does it look?
Is it on? It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. And the bottom part is looking more and more faint and transparent.
So it's literally changing shape before your eyes.
It's changing shape. It's getting smaller and starting to disappear. Hold on. No.
It's impossible to explain, yet there it is on camera. Shape-shifting silhouettes dissolving before their eyes. Then came the sounds. A high-pitched whistle, long and sharp, echoing through the woods. No coyote, no known animal. Just a chilling, melodic call no one could identify. As the team stood frozen, every hair on their arms stood straight up. Something was moving around them, staying just out of sight, yet always watching. The forest wasn't empty. It was alive with presence. Something was following them, and it wanted them to know.
Ronnie, what was that?
I don't know. I've never heard anything like that. Ever. That was crystal clear.
There's no way that was a coyote.
That had a more of a whistle, long-term whistle.
But it wasn't just heat signatures or eerie whistles. The ground held its own proof. Russell Acord made the discovery, a line of massive barefoot prints in the mud, pressed deep and wide. 18 inches long, clear heel strikes, toes splayed perfectly in the dirt. No human had walked this remote stretch barefoot in the dead of night. The tracks didn't just walk, they emerged directly from the water, as if something heavy climbed onto shore, paused, then headed straight back into the forest. Take a look at this.
Straight up right now. Something has moved through here. Oh my, look at this. Holy, look at that. That is a footprint.
You'll see it. That footprint isn't just big. It's impossible to fake at that scale. When the full team arrived, they followed the tracks. A trail that led from riverbanks deep into dense brush, each print spaced with a stride far too long for any human. 16 inches, then 18, leading straight to the tree line. It was clear. Something enormous had passed through, and recently. See the moment, right here.
Here's where it gets really strange. Tell me what you see in front of me.
Oh my God.
These are fresh from last night.
Whoa.
If you look in the water behind it, looks like an impression in the water back here.
Ooh.
This thing literally appears to have come out of the water and onto this bank. These toes are crystal clear.
Oh my God.
Look at where we are right now. What are the odds of somebody walking through here with bare feet?
Right.
And look just above it.
The stride, the depth, the sheer size, undeniable. Multiple creatures on thermal, strange lights, sounds that don't match any known species, and enormous footprints. It's no longer just a story whispered around campfires. The signs are there, and this time the cameras caught them. But the bigger question remains. What creature walks on two legs, vanishes into light, leaves colossal prints, and whistles from the dark? A voice answers back, not from a person, not from any known animal, but from something ancient, something to watch. It happens while the camera's rolling, while footprints are being documented just feet away. You hear it. A low, deliberate vocalization cuts through the quiet, captured in real time by Sasquatch Ontario. No static mic, no overnight recorder. This was live, present, proof. See for yourself, right here.
How to heel is not very big. 9 inches?
I don't know. I think it's the same individual back and forth here, except for this one. Look at this. I got to get the tape. Oh no, I got the tape measure right there. Okay, hold on. Let me.
I don't even know. I'm just saying over here.
Okay. There's one right there. Oh, I can kind of see the trackway. All right. Okay, stopping this for a moment.
The Ninyanin vocal rings out like a warning and a welcome all at once. It wasn't the only sign. Lying just ahead, a single footprint pressed into the earth like a signature. Not just any print, 21 inches long. The big guy, as they call him, had been here 2 nights in a row, and this was his mark. The impression was deep, wide, and undeniable. No mistaking it for an accident of nature or a misread animal track. This was deliberate, powerful, evidence of something massive. Take a look at this.
There's a single adult print and the rest are all the young ones. No, I think that's the same one. Same individual doing this trackway here. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that's with Neff. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 4 family members showed up tonight.
That footprint tells a story all its own. The shape, the width, the defined toes, all there, speaking to something more human than animal. As they kept moving, more prints appeared. Tracks from multiple family members, each different in size, but all following the same unseen path. The smaller ones interspersed with giants, as if a family group moved together just out of sight, brushing past trees, watching from shadows. They left their marks as if to say, "We're here with you, step for step." Watch this clip closely, right here.
We have company right now. They're throwing snowballs at us. We have one of the adults with a 21-inch footprint. That's got to be 12 feet tall.
That's not the big guy, though.
Yeah, the big guy was 20 inches last time. 20. That's 21 now.
The trail of prints leads through untouched terrain, proof that what's being heard isn't imagination. But it's the voice that lingers. The Ninyanin vocal, captured in the open, reinforces what the native cultures have always said. The Sasquatch are not just physical beings. They are ancient people, masters of consciousness, moving between realities we barely understand. Every vocalization, every print, every shadow confirms that they operate on a level beyond what science dares admit. And yet here it is, recorded, documented, undeniable. The forest may seem quiet, but it listens, it speaks back, and sometimes it leaves proof you can't ignore. See for yourself, right here.
Yeah, and that is snowballs from them. And that was a 21-inch footprint and a almost 12-inch footprint. And earlier we had an under but a 9.5-inch footprint and a 16-inch footprint. And the 16-inch was Neff, which is 4 inches of growth since this all started.
The voice, the prints, the eerie sense that you're never alone in these woods. It's not just tracking anymore. It's interaction, contact, evidence that shifts everything we thought we knew. So the question hangs. If these beings are this close, this present, with knowledge far beyond ours, how much longer can the truth be kept hidden? As you can see, nature has many hidden mysteries. From the scary sounds that made these kids shake with fear, to the huge tracks found in hard ice, every tale helps us get closer to figuring out what's real. What do you think the campers actually faced out there? Was it a huge animal protecting its space, a legendary creature, or something totally different? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more exciting stories. Until next time, be careful out there, and always stay alert with your eyes and ears.